Welcome to Zen Zone Health. Today we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart: mental and emotional exhaustion. You see, folks, so many people are walking around today just plain worn out. They're running on empty and they don't even realize it. We're going to talk about 7 warning signs that you might be mentally and emotionally exhausted. These aren't just little things you brush off. These are serious indicators that your mind and body are sending you a message. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because recognizing these signs early on is crucial. It's like noticing a small leak in a dam. If you address it early, you can prevent a whole lot of damage down the line. So let's get started.
The first warning sign is something I see all the time in my practice: inward focus. Now, this doesn't mean healthy introspection. This is different. This is when someone is so bogged down, so mentally exhausted, that they become fixated on their own negative thoughts and feelings. They lose sight of the bigger picture. The world shrinks down to the size of their own worries. They might start isolating themselves, pulling away from friends and family. Social interaction, which should be enjoyable, starts to feel like a chore, a burden they just can't handle. They might say things like, "I just want to be left alone," or "I can't deal with people right now." And you know what? They're not just being antisocial. They're hurting. They're exhausted. Their internal world is so overwhelming that they don't have the energy for anything else. This inward focus, it's a defense mechanism. It's their way of protecting themselves from further pain and disappointment. But here's the thing. It's a trap. The more they isolate themselves, the deeper they sink into their own negativity. It becomes a vicious cycle. And breaking free from that cycle, well, it takes courage. It takes recognizing that you're stuck in that pattern and making a conscious effort to reach out, to connect with others, to step outside of your own head.
Let's talk about the second warning sign. Constant irritation. We all get irritated, sure. But I'm talking about being on edge all the time, like a short fuse that's about to blow. This is a big red flag, folks. You see, chronic irritation is often linked to an inability to cope with stress, with past hurts, with traumatic events. It's like carrying around a backpack full of rocks, and every little thing that goes wrong adds another rock to the load. Eventually, that backpack gets so heavy, so unbearable, that even the smallest pebble can make you snap. The stress and daily irritations become just too much to bear, pushing you further and further into a state of mental and emotional exhaustion. Now, this irritation can manifest in different ways. Some people become easily agitated, quick to anger. Others become increasingly cynical and negative, seeing the worst in everything and everyone. And some, they internalize their irritation, turning it inwards on themselves. They become self-critical, judgmental, and filled with self-doubt. No matter how it manifests, chronic irritation is a sign that something's not right. It's a sign that you're running on fumes and you desperately need to refuel.
The third warning sign is a big one: lack of motivation. Now, this isn't just about feeling lazy or uninspired. This is about a deep-seated exhaustion that saps your energy and leaves you feeling emotionally drained. Think of it like a runner who's just finished a marathon. They're completely spent, their body and mind utterly depleted. That's what mental and emotional exhaustion does to you. It robs you of your drive, your passion, your zest for life. One of the key symptoms here is something called anhedonia. It's a fancy word that basically means losing interest in things you used to enjoy. Hobbies you were once passionate about now feel like chores. Spending time with loved ones feels draining instead of uplifting. Even simple pleasures like watching a sunset or listening to your favorite music lose their appeal. Along with anhedonia, you might find yourself struggling with daily routines. Getting out of bed in the morning becomes a monumental task. Taking care of basic hygiene feels overwhelming. And don't even get me started on work or school. This lack of motivation, it's not a character flaw. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a symptom, plain and simple. It's your body and mind waving a giant red flag, screaming, "We need a break!"
Chapter 4. The fourth warning sign is something a lot of people struggle with. Sleeping disorders, and I'm not just talking about the occasional sleepless night. Persistent problems with sleep, whether it's difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or even sleeping too much. Depression and emotional exhaustion often go hand in hand with sleep disturbances. It's like a two-way street. Exhaustion disrupts sleep, and poor sleep exacerbates exhaustion.
When you're drained, your body is in a constant state of stress. High cortisol levels interfere with your sleep-wake cycle. Emotional exhaustion disrupts your biological rhythms. Chronic sleep problems are a major red flag. They impact your physical and mental health, mood, and energy levels.
Chapter 5. Warning sign number 5. No patience. The fifth warning sign we're going to discuss is a real relationship killer. Lack of patience. And let me tell you, this one can be a real doozy. When you're mentally and emotionally exhausted, it's like your fuse gets shorter and shorter, and even the smallest things can set you off. And you know what I'm talking about, right? The traffic jam that makes you want to scream. The long line at the grocery store that sends your blood pressure soaring. The coworker who chews their gum too loudly. These are the moments when your patience wears thin and you find yourself reacting in ways you normally wouldn't. Now, this lack of patience, it's not because you're a bad person or because you enjoy being difficult. It's a symptom of being overwhelmed, of having your mental and emotional resources stretched to the limit. When you're constantly running on empty, you simply don't have the energy or the emotional bandwidth to deal with even minor annoyances. It's like your brain is in overdrive trying to process everything and it just can't keep up. And you know what? This lack of patience can have a ripple effect on your entire life. It can strain your relationships with loved ones, create tension at work, and even make it difficult to enjoy simple pleasures.
Chapter 6. Warning sign number 6. Disruption of appetite. The sixth warning sign has to do with something we all deal with, appetite. And I'm not talking about skipping a meal here and there. I'm talking about significant changes in your appetite, whether it's a complete loss of interest in food or an overwhelming urge to overeat. You see, emotional exhaustion can really mess with your body's delicate hormonal balance. And when your hormones are out of whack, it can throw your appetite regulation system completely off kilter. Now, for some people, exhaustion leads to a decreased appetite. They just don't feel like eating, even when they're physically hungry. Food loses its appeal, and meals become a chore rather than something to enjoy. For others, it's the opposite. Emotional exhaustion can trigger emotional eating, where food becomes a way to cope with stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions. They might find themselves overeating, especially sugary, fatty, and processed foods, as a way to self-soothe and numb out. Now, regardless of whether you're experiencing a loss of appetite or an increase in cravings, these changes in your eating habits can have a real impact on your physical health. They can lead to nutrient deficiencies, weight fluctuations, and even more serious health problems down the line.
Chapter 7, warning sign number 7, sadness. This final warning sign is one that breaks my heart every time I see it, sadness. And I'm not talking about the everyday blues. I'm talking about a deep, pervasive sadness that seems to seep into every aspect of your life. Now, sadness is a normal human emotion. We all experience it from time to time. But when sadness becomes chronic, when it lingers for weeks or even months on end, it's a sign that something's not right. You see, chronic sadness is often a symptom of depression, and it's one of the most common signs of mental and emotional exhaustion, especially in older adults. As we age, we face a lot of challenges: loss of loved ones, health problems, financial worries, and all of these stresses can take a toll on our emotional well-being. When you're dealing with chronic sadness, it can feel like you're carrying around a heavy weight on your shoulders. You might feel hopeless, helpless, and like nothing will ever get better. You might lose interest in activities you used to enjoy, withdraw from social interactions, and even experience physical symptoms like fatigue, aches, and pains. One of the biggest contributors to this kind of sadness is low levels of serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in regulating mood, sleep, and appetite. And when serotonin levels are low, it can lead to feelings of sadness, anxiety, and even despair. Well, folks, there you have it. 7 warning signs that you might be mentally and emotionally exhausted. Remember, these are just some of the signs. Everyone experiences exhaustion differently. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to ZenZone Health for more videos on mental health and well-being. Remember, you're not alone in this. Mental and emotional exhaustion are common problems, but they're not life sentences. There are things you can do to feel better, to regain your energy, and to find your Zen zone. Take care of yourselves.